To get started, the first speaker that we have in this half is Niall Harbison from Simply Zesty. He started up the capital of €10,000 to found Simply Zesty in 2009 before selling it 3 years later to UTV. Niall currently operates as an angel investor for small Irish businesses. Okay.
How's it going, everybody? So I'm here I actually work in social media, but what I want to talk to you about today is really mobile. And the reason for doing that is because it's pretty much taken over absolutely everything that we do. So the title is it's 1999 all over again, and what I mean by that is that back then nobody was online, and there was this big, huge, mad rush to get online. We're pretty much in the same place at the moment. I always think that at these conferences, like we're in the sort of marketing space, we're probably 2 or 3 years behind of what's actually happened. If you want to hear what's actually happened, go to the developer stages and stuff like that, because they would have been talking about social media 2, 3, 4 years ago. They're now obsessed by mobile and real world to online sort of hookups. So mobile. Here's a little chart that I stole from the internet, because you can do that. Here's where we are at the very moment. If you look, this is personal computers down here, and that's the big trend. Desktops, stuff like that, not really, like we all still use them. A lot of us have laptops in front of us. We go to work, we use a personal computer. But if you look at smartphones, it's absolutely exploding in growth. Tablets, the same. So in a couple of years' time, desktops are going to not be irrelevant. We're still going to need them, but they're going to be a tiny part of the entire mix. There's 10,000 iPhones sold in Ireland every single week. That's a huge number, and that's only iPhones. There's obviously Samsungs, Android phones, all the rest, but 10,000 new phones are sold every week. For a whole generation of people, they're not even going to a laptop. They're not going to a desktop. They're going straight to mobile. Interesting stat that I think is fascinating. It just shows the sort of very tip of the iceberg where we're at the moment. Web search declined for the first time in September 2006. So that means web searches, people looking for stuff on Google, actually declined on desktops. That's a huge, huge trend that we all need to be very aware of. We all look for information on our smartphones, so we really need to be aware of that. Mobile devices will account for 1/3 of all search traffic by the end of the year. That's why Google have Android. That's why so many people are moving into this space. There's a massive migration from desktops going on to mobile devices. If you're in marketing and you want to target consumers, or if you want to get people into your shop or whatever it is, you need to get at them through your mobile device, and nobody's really doing that. I love this Steve Jobs quote. He actually said it just before the iPad, or just as the iPad launched. PCs are going to be like trucks. They're still going to be around. However, only one in a certain amount of us are actually going to be using them. So what that actually means is, if you're a developer, if you're a graphic designer, if you're an accountant, something like that, where you need a big computer, you're still going to be using them. But the vast majority of people are going to be using smartphones and tablets. And brands, businesses in general, are in no way prepared for that at the moment. The classic example of that is Facebook. So obviously Facebook over the last 2 years had massive success. They nearly got caught with their pants down in terms of the reason why their stock price is tanking so much is because there's been a huge migration of users from desktops, where they can put lots of ads and do lots of cool stuff, onto a tiny little screen where users will get pissed off if they see one ad. So that's a huge problem, but also a massive opportunity for Facebook. So if they've got all these users who are massively, way more engaged on their mobile, for any of you use Facebook on your mobile, you probably check it 20 times a day, or use Messenger loads of times every day. You use it in a completely different way. So the feeling would be that if Facebook are to really crack revenue, they're not just going to slap banner ads or targeted advertising into a mobile app. It needs to be something way smarter than that. This chart always fascinates me. It's not mobile, but if you think of Kindles, they are essentially tablet computers. It's the stark contrast in terms of what is happening in terms of disruption at the moment. So the yellow line is physical books sold. Amazon, one of the most successful online companies in the world. world all the way back to 1996. The yellow line is exponential growth. That's doubling every year, hugely successful, one of the biggest success stories ever. They come along in just early 2008, 2009, and that's Kindle books sold. You don't need to be a genius to see that that's remarkable. That's happening across all sorts of different industries because of mobile, because of the fact that there's 1 billion people walking around with smartphones at the moment. The only newspapers, I'd really love observing just culture and what's happening in the world. And like if you go to New York and you get on the subway, everybody's got a tablet. Pretty much everybody, or a Kindle or a smartphone. The only newspapers that still work in Ireland are things that they shove into your hand for free, Metro, or other newspapers that they give away for free. So that's a massive change. This another graph that just shows that stark contrast. So the growth in advertising revenue with adjusted for inflation, it just fell off a cliff in 2008, 2009. People are not reading newspapers anymore. I bought one a couple of weeks ago, and I actually just said, why have I even got this? It's totally irrelevant. The news is out of date. That's why we've seen sites like The Journal and stuff like that really jump into the mainstream, because it's up-to-date mobile news. Just to reflect that, that's the first newspaper when I was thinking of these was Independent, so I just grabbed their share price to have a quick look at it, fallen off a cliff. So those two graphs pretty much correlate. So if you're thinking about advertising in newspapers and stuff like that, I'd probably advise against it. You only have to look at kids. My brother he's only 4, and I can see him. He gets the phone. You keep them quiet with the phone and stuff like that in restaurants, as many of you'll do. But now he's touching my laptop, the screen on it, trying to make it work as a touch screen. And they understand this sort of stuff without even having to know much about it. Old people, you can give them a tablet. I've been trying to teach my granny to use email for 10 years. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. Give her a tablet, and they're already scrolling through apps and stuff like that. So people understand these types of technologies way more than they do the web. In terms of very quickly what's coming, Apple's obviously, that's my favorite, but Android, whatever it is you use, there's been hacked together really crappy things like QR codes and stuff like that. They're just not user-friendly. It's like very much a marketing trend. But stuff that is going to work is stuff like Apple's Passbook, so that's just launched. The airlines in the States, you can now get your boarding pass, and just scan in like that. You'll be able to get discount, coupons, match tickets, all that sort of stuff. That's going to blow up. That's probably, in my opinion, the killer feature of the new iPhone. Google Wallet, exactly the same. This is, like, it's driving me fucking crazy how long it's taken for your phone to be the thing that you pay for stuff with, like receipts, all that sort of stuff is just a pain in the ass. Your phone is absolutely going to be your wallet. It could happen hopefully in the next 12 or 18 months. It'll obviously take longer in Ireland. The first things are sort of in place to make that happen, but it's coming along very quickly. If you even go to, this is, I think, South Korea, and the retailer didn't have money to open physical stores, so they just had stores in the undergrounds where you could scan stuff and it got delivered to you at home. So that they were able to effectively open a shop without ever having any physical real estate. So that was all possible because of mobile. For the likes of Square, absolutely huge, turns your iPad into a cash register, or local plumbers can take payments, local merchants, rather than going through all the big hoopla of setting up terminals and all that. You just plug a little thing in and get people to sign on the screen. So that sort of disruption, I just picked Halo because they're everywhere, but that's what mobile does, is it just disrupts entire industry. So Halo's a classic example. Taxis hasn't really changed very much. The biggest change that I could see in Ireland was those 8-20-20 ads. They just blasted it everywhere and gave a 20% discount. That worked really, really well. But Halo have just come in, and the ability to tap your phone and get a taxi to come to you instantly is absolutely brilliant, to the point now where I've heard the 8-20-20 ads pushing their app massively. They're obviously on the back foot. So disruption happens in all these industries. It happens to the biggest players in the world. So Facebook, like I said, nearly got caught with their pants down. Their entire company's bet on mobile now. BlackBerry, 2-3 years ago, you would have said unstoppable, juggernaut. Everybody in business was using them. they're dead. They're absolutely gone. Nokia, exact same. So they're still selling lots of phones, but in terms of just really getting cut, they didn't think the iPhone would be a success. And crucially, this goes back to developers again. They just don't have the developers on board. The reason the iPhone and the Android platforms are successful is because the apps are absolutely incredible. To the point where this is Nokia's headquarters in Finland, whatever the capital of Finland is. They're selling that at the moment for 1 billion, a little bit more than 1 billion. That's how bad a state their business is. And if you go back, it's only 2, 3, 4 years ago that Nokia were the strongest, biggest phone seller in the world. But they're down to a stage where they're sort of stripping the assets out of their business to try and raise cash. That's how bad it is. So it can happen to the biggest companies in the world, and you're probably sitting at these things listening to people like me saying, yeah, it's mobile, it's going to take forever, that's not going to impact my bottom line tomorrow. That's exactly what Nokia said. That's exactly what BlackBerry said, but they're nearly dead as companies. Anybody know what that number is, why that would be significant? That's the amount of cash that Apple have in their bank account right now, 120 billion. They make about 8 billion a quarter in profit. So that just shows you how ridiculously profitable this is if you get it right. And again, that number is just down to pure disruption. They've disrupted the market massively. If I stood here at conferences 2 years ago, I wouldn't have seen any. I can now see Apple's logos absolutely everywhere, and that's come because of the smartphones. The next company that I would say, I just noticed as I was reading the sponsor book this morning that they're a sponsor, but the next company that I would say, hopefully there's nobody here from Microsoft that are screwed, are Microsoft. They're the next ones in the hairs. Like if you see a company like Microsoft and they're having to pay developers to develop on their platform and stuff like that, like Nokia tried to do, the writing's on the wall. It'll take a lot longer. They've lots of cash. They've other businesses, stuff like that. But mobile is going to absolutely shaft Microsoft. I did a quick look online, and I just picked the first 3 things. There was no logic to this or whatever. I was like, okay, let's look at 3 mobile sites in Ireland. So the first one, I was like, retail. Who's retail? I was like, Harvey Norman's. Always hear the ads. So that's what their mobile site looks like. You would need like a microscope and tiny little fingers to be able to get in and buy anything. It's horrendous. It's a terrible experience. Probably the best e-commerce site in the world, I would say, is fab.com. So that's maybe where they should be aiming. I went and then I was like, okay, who's a big supermarket? Dunnes Stores. Worse, try and find anything on that site on a mobile. Horrendous. And this is based on the fact like 20, 30% of people are coming to your websites, all your websites, via a mobile device at the moment. So I know I run a social media agency, but if you had any money, I would say put it into mobile. Absolutely implore you to do that. Next one I went to is O2. Same thing, big, huge telecoms company, but very, very hard to navigate, impossible to find information. Whereas if you go and look at the US equivalent, quite easy, just the stuff that you want to find. So all of this, massive disruption. Instagram's the example that everybody uses. That's not really massively relevant because we're not all going to start an Instagram. But the reason that they got €1 billion valuation was because they leveraged smartphones. They don't even have a website. Well, they do now, but they never had a website. It was purely mobile-based, and they tapped into the fact that all these people had smartphones and they leveraged somebody else's platform. So that shows the potential of what can be done. They've grown to 100 million users, way faster than Facebook, way faster than Twitter did, purely because of mobile. If I was to use an example, this company I'm helping in Ireland, like a Cleverbug, this just shows the potential that mobile offers. So what they're doing is leveraging Facebook, mobile, and this real world to online interaction. You'll find that's the kind of theme of this whole. If you go to any of the other stages and listen to the guys from the States and stuff, everybody's trying to bridge offline to real world to mobile. That's where the big wins are to be made. They let you personalize cards from Facebook using Open Graph, and then send you a physical card in the world. Now that's, again, another $1 billion business like Instagram. And nobody could set up a business like that 2-3 years ago because you needed all the sort of infrastructure. Now you're getting into people's hands on their mobile devices instantly. So the kind of thought that I'd like to leave you with is, when you talk to people in Ireland, they think that this is the web, maybe a slightly newer computer, but the web is not... it's not going onto your desktop. Like, that is what the web looks like. And that's even only a snapshot of it. If you think of internet getting baked into cars, Google launching their glasses that have got internet baked in, that's the next wave. So like, if you're developing, you need to think of your consumers and where they're reaching at you. They're all sitting in front of a TV with their phone. They're on the Lewis with their phone. So mobile is the one thing that I would absolutely urge you to do.